Happy March, my friend.
Happy March. Let the madness begin.
Yeah, the madness is just getting started here. Got March Madness starting in a few weeks. WCC tournament starting soon too.
Yeah.
Well,
WHL playoffs starting soon.
yeah, right around my birthday.
Yeah. Well, right around the first of the month.
Well, yeah, it kind of interesting that the first time we've had home ice advantage in quite a while, and our first two games are have to be on like a Monday and a Wednesday or whatever.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
that's what happens when you don't make the playoffs consistently. You don't ever have that in the back of their minds when they're scheduling things.
that's true. I mean, it is good to have some March Madness at the arena too, though.
Oh, it definitely. Definitely.
It's good for the city and everything too. But yeah, I mean, at least we're getting home ice, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure, obviously that'll just be for the first round as well. If we make it past the first round, then we'll have home ice probably on a Friday and Saturday
Hmm.
or, something along those lines. So I guess can't complain about it too much. Just be happy that we're at where we're at in the standings right now and playing as well as we are.
Yeah, exactly. I'm more than thrilled.
So I guess we could start off where we left off last week talking about our quarter century teams. I think we have our as a whole, we have defense and goalies settled. Uh,
Before you go any farther along,
okay.
you are like lagging big time.
Oh, you're right. I am. I don't know what's going on with this.
Do you want to start over a new meeting and see what happens?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. Send me a link.
Okay. Okay, well, hopefully that fixed it.
Technical difficulties avoided now, maybe?
Yeah, hopefully. I'm hoping that that fixed it, but
No.
we'll see. Like I was telling you a little bit ago, I got to do some cleaning up on my computer and get rid of some, old files and everything too to open up some more RAM and free space on it and everything too. So that could be part of why it's slowed down, but who knows?
How often do you reset your computer or restart it?
Oh, I shut it down every night.
I do. No,
Yeah.
so it
Yeah.
wasn't that. Yeah. Who
No, I
knows?
shut it down every night, but whatever.
Who knows?
I gave my phone a reboot too because that's what I use for my camera. So gave everything a reboot, and it looks like as at least as of right now, knock on wood, we're good to go.
Your gestures are matching your words. That's good.
That is good. That is good.
There you go. I spoke too
So
soon. You
oh,
froze
is
up
it
for a
doing it
second there.
again? Jesus,
It
whatever.
just froze up for a second.
So I think we have our defense and our goalies kind of set in stone. I think we're in agreement on those. We just kind of got to work on our own forward groups. We have the players, just don't have the correct. Well, we have, you and I each have our own, and we're
Yes.
looking to kind of make one together as like for the show itself. But I think we should just reveal our own lists,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
We'll consolidate it and make a dream team, so to speak.
yeah, we'll consolidate it, and then I'll post on a lineup card in the Chiefs fan group or something in the next few days.
Nice. Nice. That's a great
So,
idea.
would you like to reveal your team first?
Sure. Well, we as we mentioned last week, we mentioned our goalies. I think we both agreed on that. I
Yeah,
got Dustin Tokarski as my starting goalie, and Dawson Cowan as my backup. I think two very worthy goalies in the last 25 years for sure.
absolutely.
As my extra skater, some that we decided to throw in there when we had extra forwards we didn't know where to put on the team or couldn't quite put on the team or whatever reason we had, came up with the extra skater idea. So I got Eli Zumak at extra skater for me.
Okay.
Should I go fourth line up to the first line or
Yes.
okay? So for my fourth line, I have Drayson Bowman, Mitch Wall, and Levko Koper at forwards.
Okay.
And I have on my third line, I have Mike Aviani, Jared Anderson Dolan, and Adam Beckman. And my defensemen on that line are Kurt Sauer and Justin Falk.
Okay.
And second line. This is where you and I differ a little bit too. I threw together an all Spokane line. So I have Kyler Yamamoto, Tyler Johnson, and Derek Ryan at forwards for my second line,
Okay.
with Brendan Kitchen and Jared Cowan on defense. And my top line is Brandon Cote, Berkeley Catton, and Mitch Holmberg, with Jared Spurgeon and Ty Smith on defense.
Solid list. I mean, you can't go wrong with any of those guys.
No,
I
no.
I want to know what your like mindset was when you were putting that list together of like why you put who, where, and everything.
Well, I was thinking of several factors. I was thinking of players that were the most impactful when they were in the Spokane Chiefs uniform. Thinking of the longevity of their careers in Spokane as well. So I factored that in, and then just point output for the most part too. Um, if I was going off of just pure physicalness as far as defenseman goes, I wouldn't have obviously looked at point home to
You froze up on me.
growing up watching hockey and getting into it a little bit more. But at the same time, it doesn't really. I don't know how that equates into being in the on the team for one of the top players in 25 years. A selfish thing on my part, and the game's changed. There's not two.
Right.
So anyway, um, so I took all those factors into consideration too. Um, there are some guys on the team that could have made that list too. I know your list differs a little bit from mine, but I think we're in agreement on the majority of our forwards. I think we're in full agreement on goalies and defensemen, though.
Goalies and defensemen, we had the exact, and we did the exact same lines for
That's
them as
crazy because
well.
I don't think we really conferred on that either.
No, we did. We kind of put it together our own, and then yeah. Um, so yeah, our goalies and defense are the same. I have mine pulled up here too. I have Tokarski, Cowan, first line defense, Smith and Spurgeon, second line, Cowan Kitchen, third line, Kurt Sauer, Justin Falk. Same as you. This is where we kind of differed offensively. I did my extra attacker is Adam Haluka.
Mm-hmm.
Fourth line, Chase Bertholet, Brandon Cote, Derek Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
Third line, Mitch Holmberg, Drayson Bowman, Eli Zumak.
Mm-hmm.
Second line, Jared Anderson Dolan, Mitch Wall, Tyler Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
And then my first line is Adam Beckman, Berkeley Catton, and Kyler Yamamoto.
And
So
what were your factors? What to put players? Where'd you put them? And
So this, I mean, it took me a while to put together. I mean, I was probably sitting here for 2 hours trying to like piece everything together properly how I was thinking. I looked at all the players' elite prospects page and looked at like their I took a couple factors into consideration, like the mainly points per game was a big one, and how many games they played as a Chief, because there's a couple of guys on the list that didn't play their entire careers with the Chiefs. And so I took that into consideration
a
as
little bit
well.
there again.
Are we lagging again?
Mm-hmm.
Say you were
Yeah,
frozen. You
your video was frozen for about 10 seconds there.
say you were frozen for me too. Okay, are we good now?
I think we're good.
Okay, yeah, you froze for me there. My video looks fine on my end now. Now it's on your end, it looks like.
And my videos look fine to me the whole time too. That's weird how that
Interesting.
works.
I don't know
Yeah.
what's going on. But anyway, so I took into like points per game, how many games they played as a Chief, because there's a few players that didn't play their entire WHL careers with the Chiefs.
Right.
Um, you know, Chase Bertholet being one, and that's about it. All I have, Adam Haluka too. But
Mm-hmm.
I looked for their like points per game, and I was a little bit surprised by some of like the stuff that I looked up. Like, I guess I didn't realize how many points and points per game Chase Berthlet had as a Chief. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, he played 3.5 full seasons with the Chiefs,
Mm-hmm.
and I think just based off of his point production and his leadership qualities, I think he, played enough as a Chief to make the list, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So I threw him on the fourth line. Same with like Cote and Ryan; they were like kind of hovering right around the same points per game
Mm-hmm.
type thing. So I kind of put them there, and then obviously, Adam Beckman, Berkeley Catton, and Kyler Yamamoto are three of the greatest Chiefs of all time, in my opinion.
Yes. Yes.
And their point production speaks for itself, but their leadership qualities and like how much like the fans like them and their teammates liked them and stuff too, I took that into account as well. So that's kind of why I had those three at the top. Anderson, Dolan, Wall, and Johnson are right there as well. I just felt like maybe just a slight step below
Hmm.
those three. And then Mitch Holmberg obviously is like the leading goal scorer in Chiefs history.
Hmm.
Um, so I threw him in there. Drayson Bowman had such an impact offensively when we won the Memorial Cup in '08, so I felt like he had to be in there. And Eli Zumac was just an assist machine and had an insane point per game average as
Yeah.
a Chief too. So I felt like he needed to be in there too. But that's kind of my list and what I was thinking while I was doing it. Like I said, I sat here for like maybe 2 hours just trying to piece everything together properly and text you at one point. I was like, shit, this is harder than I thought it would be.
Yeah. I remember you texting me that.
Yeah, I think we're gonna kind of try to piece together a forward group as like a podcast itself, and
Hmm.
we'll release that in the next couple of days after I
Yeah.
get everything figured out. So
I think
um,
that's good. I think maybe down the road we should do another team too, and maybe just so we can throw points out the window and things like that too, and just a list of players that are consummate Chiefs.
yeah, for sure.
Because I mean, I didn't realize Bertholet's point output until you pointed that out. Because I would have put him on that team. I'd put Liam Stewart on that team. There's a lot of guys that I would put on that team
For sure.
that were just excellent Chiefs players.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was thinking that's something that we could do over the off season. Just like if we
that's a good
wanted to do
idea.
a couple shows here and there, doing revealing a couple of those teams along with some off season news or whatever too.
Yeah, that'd be
That's
fun.
kind of something we can do to kind of keep putting videos out and episodes out too. But yeah, that's kind of what we got for that so far. You're frozen again.
So were you. Technology's grand, isn't it?
Oh, it sure is. Oh well, we're just gonna roll with it.
Only only when it works.
Yeah, we'll just roll with it.
This happens all
Whatever.
the time when I listen to that's fine. This happens all the time when I listen to hockey shows on Sirius XM too, where people's video and audio freezes up.
Yeah, it happens. Whatever.
Yeah.
So now I guess we should go back into the last couple of games and kind of recap and
Yeah.
give our thoughts on that. 3 games since in the last week since our last show. So start with Wednesday against Vancouver at the Spokane Arena.
Hmm.
Going into it, Vancouver still fighting for the highest seed that they can possibly get right now, but with Portland and Tri-Cities. So a desperate team looking to kind of make another push in the standings toward the end of the season.
Hmm.
Um, I think not the Chiefs' best game overall. We
No.
came out with the 2 points for sure, but first period pretty defensive battle. Chiefs outshoot Vancouver 14-9. No scoring in the first period though. I felt like that was probably the most even period of the game because I felt like after that, I feel like most of the second period, honestly, Vancouver had majority of the offensive zone time and the offensive zone pressure. But
Hmm.
the Chiefs did score first. Kind of a little fluky goal. Burke Hood, Vancouver's goalie, was playing really well. Made a couple of huge saves late in the first period and then early in the second period as well. So it was going to take kind of a fluky one to start getting him behind him. And Owen Martin cutting down the right side, went behind the net, made a nice pass to Weinstein on a one-timer, and it deflected off of what we thought at the time was a defenseman's stick up in the air and then just landed
Hmm.
behind Hood and went into the net because he couldn't see it. Turns out it was Mathis Preston's stick that he hit on the shot. So Preston gets his 20th goal of the season on that one, assisted from Sage and Owen Martin. So Chiefs take a 1-0 lead, uh, 7 minutes into the second period. And then I felt like we kind of took our foot off the gas a little bit there.
We did.
The next couple of minutes, Vancouver controlled the pressure. The Chiefs did end up getting a power play about halfway through the second period, but Tyler Thorpe for Vancouver scored a shorthanded goal after a defensive breakdown by the Chiefs. And then 17 seconds later, Connor Levis scoring again. So
That was quick.
Vancouver picking up 2 goals in about 20 seconds, and it really kind of took the air out of the arena at that point. I mean,
It did.
getting that first goal is huge, kind of getting the guys into it and everything, and then giving up two in succession like that is just gonna completely kill the vibe in the arena and kind of kill all your momentum. So, um, thankfully though, the Chiefs kind of buckled down a little bit then too, and I think that's an attest to our coaching staff getting them to kind of buckle back down after a couple of defensive mistakes. and Chase Harrington
And
getting a nice
speaking of
feed.
coaching staff, that game we
Yeah,
were
Brad
we,
Lauer
we
not being on the bench.
yeah.
Do we ever find out what exactly it was?
I heard he was ill.
Ill, yeah, that's what kind of
Yeah,
what I heard too, but I didn't get any confirmation on that.
yeah.
But yeah,
So Brian,
late in the second period, being down 2-1, Mathis Preston finds Chase Harrington wide open on the left side on a 2-on-1, kind of got the goalie out of position a little bit, and he just snapped home his 17th of the season. So tied game going into the third period. At that point, we're it was kind of a back and forth game in the terms of like defensive lapses on both sides. A lot of odd man rushes going each way just from like, bad defensive breakdowns or just
mm-hmm.
pointless turnovers on both sides. What are you thinking going into the third period, being tied 2-2 after, giving up a couple of goals in 17 seconds and, facing a hot goalie too?
Well, that's the thing. There was the hot goalie more than anything. I like our shot output. Um, just we weren't getting anything in the net. I was confident that the coaching staff was going to stick to a plan and find things worked. Our energy wasn't bad necessarily or anything, but we just couldn't score, and I didn't know what to expect. I told you several weeks ago. I respect Vancouver's team. They they play us tough, and they were showing it again too. I didn't like the lapses we had where we gave up 2 goals quickly to them, but I felt like we kind of started cracking down a little bit more towards the end of that second period, and I felt that would probably carry it into the third. But again, you got a hot goalie. Are you going to score against him, or are you they're going to score another couple of fluky ones because of some missed assignments or some mistakes or things too? I mean, it could have gone either way. I wouldn't say that I was necessarily nervous, but I was anxious to see what the third was going to bring.
Well, and that's the thing too, is like I said, Vancouver's still fighting for the highest seed that they can possibly get right now too. So
Mm-hmm.
they're, not as desperate of a team as like a Wenatchee or Seattle necessarily
No,
trying to fight to get into the playoffs, but they're still, a desperate team that plays hard and they have veteran coaching that we know all about
yes, we do.
and they're, coming out trying to, get the highest seed possible for their best shot in the playoffs. So they're a desperate team that was just skating hard and playing a really hard game overall. And but the Chiefs did score two more goals in the first 10 minutes of the third period. Shea Van Olm scoring his 48th goal of the season, just a nice little snipe from the right circle
Mm-hmm.
that beat Hood far side to put us up 3-2. And then 4.5 minutes later, what a feed from Rasmus Ekstrom there
Yes.
on the left boards. Sarkinov behind the net gives it to Ekstrom, and then he finds Coco Armstrong wide open in front of the net, and he just backhanded it past Hood. So we got a 4-2 lead at that point. Chiefs really looking like they're buckling down, and
Mm-hmm.
and honestly, I don't think they really took the foot off of the gas necessarily after that. Vancouver did get another goal with about 5 minutes to go in the third to make it a one goal game again, but I felt like um, for the most part, up until like maybe the last minute when they pulled the goalie, the Chiefs really buckled down defensively. Dawson Cowan had to make a couple of big saves with the goalie pulled for
Yeah, he
Vancouver
did.
as well. And it looked like that they were
Our
really pressing hard
our
and
guys were gassed
yeah, they were out there for two
for a
minutes,
long
2 minutes
time.
plus
Yeah.
playing defense, blocking shots, and it's kind of looking a little bit bleak. But once we got control of the puck and cleared it out, time expired. It was like okay, we pulled out of it.
Yeah.
Um, Outshot Vancouver 48-30. I love seeing those high shot outputs from
Me
these guys.
too.
I love that we're shooting the puck, and I feel like that's part of the reason why we're scoring so much more this year is because we're actually shooting the puck as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to necessarily looking for like the perfect play and the perfect
Mm-hmm.
shot. That being said, I would like to see some of those shots be a little bit higher danger scoring chances,
Yeah.
like picking better spots as opposed to just shooting it right into the crest on the goalie. Shoot low off the pads, look for a rebound, or try to pick a corner if you're a sniper like Catton or Preston or Crystal or whoever. But that being said, I am thrilled with our shot output, especially in
Oh,
the
me too.
last couple of months.
Mm-hmm.
Chiefs dominant in the faceoff dot again, 38-27. So picking up
Nice.
another crucial 2 points. Everett didn't play that night, so within that night we were within 5 points of Everett for the top spot in the West.
Closest
Um,
we've been since about week 2.
Pretty crazy. Everett's really kind of going through it right now, and they're. I feel like they're that team that I told you about it last time we played them over there. I think the Chiefs are more complete of a team than Everett
Mm-hmm.
is. I think Everett's skilled and they got, some really talented young players and a couple of good, really good goaltenders. But I think overall the Chiefs are just more complete of a hockey team.
Yeah.
And so I feel like, we had those couple of lapses mid-season, right before or right after the Christmas break where we lost a couple of games in a row and lost some games that we should have won and everything, that kind of maybe slowed our chances of catching Everett, but we still have two games against them left as well. So those
Mm-hmm.
those are crucial 4 points right there. And then Everett does have a game in hand on us though, so that is
Oh, do they?
one thing to keep in your mind too. But so yeah, huge 2 points going into Friday night at the arena against Wenatchee, sold out crowd, completely just ear screechingly loud kids at the
Yes,
arena. Um,
including in our section.
yeah, it wasn't necessarily the kids in our section though.
That's true.
I had some drunk assholes pouring beer, well, not pouring beer, spilling beer on me
Yes,
all
yes,
game and kicking me and kicking the seat. But your boy's patient.
yes. Where'd you learn that?
And gee, I wonder. So Friday night, so nice to see them play a full 60 minutes.
Yes,
Wenatchee, again, another one of those teams that's fighting for their playoff lives, a desperate team. And the Chiefs kind of realized that. And I'm sure that after the, couple of lapses they had on Wednesday, got a nice chewing from the coaching staff and the leaders on buckling down and playing a full 60 minutes and not having any sort of lapses like that. And boy, they did not. That that big crowd really energized them. And
yeah.
Dawson Cowan getting his second straight start in net as well. Wenatchee scored the first goal of the game about 7 minutes into the first period. Probably a goal that Cowan wants back.
I think so.
Not a good goal to be giving up necessarily, but it's kind of been going on here and there with him where he makes these huge saves, these cross crease saves that just seem impossible. But sometimes he lets a squeaker in like that. But you know what? I got to give him credit because after that he buckled down the rest of the game
Yeah,
and he played a really good game. And so yeah, Brendan Dunphy scored for Wenatchee on just a simple shot there to give him a 1-0 lead. About 7 minutes later, Chase Harrington would score his 18th goal of the season from Andrew Crystal and Owen Martin. Um, it's nice seeing Owen Martin just really consistently being on the scoreboard, whether he's
mm-hmm.
scoring or picking up assists. I feel like he's been a point per game guy since he came back from his
Mm-hmm.
injury, and
Absolutely.
that's been awesome, and it's been a really huge help to our secondary scoring group. And then halfway through the second period, what a snipe from Brody Gillespie. I mean,
And did you? I asked you on the post game show when he was interviewed by Boiler. Boiler asked him if he saw something, if he just shot it. He said, "No, I saw something.
yeah,
I just happened to hit it,
yeah, that was a hell of a shot and a great play too. Puck in the air at the blue line, and he had
catching it."
the ability to catch it, put it down, skate it a little bit, and he sniped just
Yeah,
short side over um God, what's his name? Alex Garrett's shoulder.
just a
Uh,
great individual play.
a beautiful goal, and I feel like Brody Gillespie has been one of those guys that's really had himself a good last few 2-3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like ever since he came back from his injury, he's been a little bit playing with a little bit more edge and a little bit more pep in his step
Oh,
too.
I agree.
That fourth line in general, I think, has been
Our
awesome the
fourth line's been
last
was fun to
last
watch the
week.
last. Yeah.
Owen Martin or not Owen Martin, Smith Redmond coming back from injury as well
Mm-hmm.
with Brody and Campar. I mean, I think that was our best line all weekend,
Mm-hmm.
without a doubt. But so yeah, 2-1 Chiefs after the second period, going into the third period. Um, Wenatchee's goalie, I think, played very well.
Mm-hmm.
And it definitely could have been like another 8-9 to 1 blowout if it weren't
It
for
could have.
him.
Yeah.
But Mathis Preston scoring again, wide open in the slot, just ripped it right off of the faceoff again for his 21st goal of the season, assisted from Brody and Sage Weinstein. Brody setting that play up too, so picking up a
Mm-hmm.
goal and an assist. Parents weekend as well, so all
Yeah.
the players' families were there, so I thought that was pretty cool too. Um, and then let's talk about that Smith Redmond goal late in the period is or 5 minutes into the third period, a couple minutes after Preston's. Nice little individual play.
Yeah.
The goalie played the puck out to the D man, and Redmond was coming in hard on the forecheck and just checked the guy with the puck, and it ended up pushing him right into Alex Garrett. Got spilled on the play, lost his stick, and then the Chiefs kept moving the puck around, and a nice pass from Will McIsaac to find Smith Redmond right there in a slot to score his first goal since coming back from injury, his 12th of the year. Again, that fourth line was just so good in that
They
Wenatchee
were.
game. That the top line's been kind of slowing their scoring down a little bit the last couple of games, so it's nice to see our secondary scoring and our other lines able to pick up the
Hmm.
slack there. Um, that really bodes well for us. I think um, not only on the ice but like mentally too,
Oh yeah.
knowing that we have those guys that can kind of back it up when the top line just doesn't have it for whatever reason.
Hmm.
But that being said, late in the game on the power play, Berkeley Catton did break through and get his 35th goal of the season.
Yeah.
So again, just a complete 60-minute effort by the Chiefs. They pick up a 5-1 win over Wenatchee, out shooting them 40-17 on the game. Um, 1 for 4 on the power play, 3 for 3 on the penalty kill. So our special teams still hanging right up there toward the top in the league, both power play and penalty kill. So I thought that was pretty cool to see. Uh, we got the news the next day that Mathis Preston was suspended indefinitely by the league for under supplementary discipline. Turns out it was because of a play in the second period where he was cutting to the net, got around everybody, and crashed into the goaltender, lost his skate blade on the play, had to go back into the locker room, have Brennan G come out and play about 5 minutes or so while he was getting his skate repaired and everything. But Mathis Preston got 2 minutes for goalie interference on the play. I feel like that's probably all that needed to be called there.
Me too. Me too. I mean, it was a penalty.
For sure.
It was
Without a
goaltending
doubt.
interference for sure. He went in hard, and I don't want to say recklessly, but kind of. I mean, there was no way he was without hitting something, whether it was going to be the net or the goalie, maybe, unless he's free and doesn't have the defender on his hip, then maybe he avoids contact altogether. But with that guy on his hip, he was going to hit something.
Well, and I think that's something that they needed to take into consideration too, was like, obviously, I don't think Preston would intentionally try to run the goalie over. I think
No,
he's 16, but he's smarter than that, you
no,
know?
it was nothing intentional about it at all. He was just going to the net hard to make a play.
Exactly. And like I said, I think the 2 minutes for goalie interference is probably all that needed to be called there. But apparently the league felt like something more needed to come out of that, even though he doesn't have any prior history of any discipline or anything like that. But um, so we learned that he wouldn't play Saturday against Seattle. The league was still kind of determining how many games he was going to get. It came out yesterday that he got 2 games for that, which is just, and I'm sorry, but that's just laughable.
It is.
Um,
It
uh,
is.
uh,
So is this where we want to reveal our new segment?
Yeah, I think we should.
I think we should. It was brought to our attention that we should have a segment on this podcast by some season ticket holders in our section too, that we should have the worst call of the week. So our pick for worst call of the week goes to the league for handing down that discipline to Mathis Preston.
Yeah, the WHL discipline board definitely deserves that honor this week. I don't understand that at all. I mean,
No,
it is what it is. So he's gonna miss our first game Friday in Victoria, but yeah, worst call of the week has got to go to them. And I'll tell you what, there are some shitty calls in the last
there
three
was,
games too.
there was. We had a lot to choose from, but this
This
trumped
one,
them. Don't want to use the guy's name, but this trumped them all.
yeah, it definitely did. I'm not. I would like to hear their opinion on why they chose 2 games and to suspend him in general. I'd like to hear what they had to say
Me
about it.
too.
I wish they had some sort of way of explaining that to fans like the NHL does with the player
Yes,
safety
me
board.
too.
Um, yeah, I'm a little bit curious about that, but there's nothing you can do about it now. But I'll tell you what, the Chiefs really missed Mathis Preston's speed on
Yeah.
Saturday.
Yes, they did.
Getting Cohen Harris back in, he filled in nicely on that line with
He did.
Owen Martin and Jesus, who am I missing on that line? Harrington. And I felt like he played a good game, but late in the first period, Owen Martin took a hit and kind of looked like his arm got a little bit banged up, went back to the
Mm-hmm.
locker room for about 3 or 4 minutes and just kind of stretched it out, came back and played the rest of the first period. Did not come back out in the ice for the second or third period. So really hoping that that's not another long-term issue because, he's been one of those guys that's kind of carried our scoring with our top line not being able to get
Mm-hmm.
much done recently. And just a key guy that we're going to need in the playoffs too, and
Yeah.
the final stretch of the regular season. So I'm really hoping that that's not a serious injury because I feel like that can really kind of hurt us a little bit,
Yeah. Me
especially
too.
this weekend, not having Preston for the first game in Victoria as
Mm-hmm.
well. So I'm really hoping that there's nothing too serious, but I'll probably find out tomorrow or Wednesday when the discipline report comes out or the injury report comes out.
I would think so.
So I'll try to pay attention to that tomorrow and see if they get that out on time because they've been releasing it a day or two late the last
Yeah, they
couple of
have.
weeks, which is a little bit annoying, but whatever.
Well, that's the league for you.
But yeah, so great 60-minute performance on Saturday or on Friday.
Friday. Yeah.
Terrible performance on Saturday. What the
In
hell happened
in
to these
in
guys?
comparison, for sure.
What the hell happened?
Seattle. We ran into another hot Seattle team. I mean, we've talked in previous podcasts how they've been playing lately, and we got to witness it in person.
Yeah, Seattle really again, another same similar to Wenatchee, a
They
desperate
just shut
team.
us down, and they
A
just
de
shut us down.
Yeah, a desperate team trying to make the playoffs, and they played a really good trap on us. Like we
Mm-hmm.
had, we put up 44 shots in the game,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel like a lot of them were just low danger throw it on net from the point shots because
They
they
were.
kind of kept us to the outside, and they honestly just played really good defensively, and
Mm-hmm.
they had a couple of guys that had really good offensive performances. Nathan Pilling picking up 4 goals
Yeah.
and a +3. Antonio Maturana with 4 assists and a +2 as well. So yeah, Seattle's a desperate team fighting for their playoff lives too. They're trying to gain some ground on Wenatchee and Kamloops in the West for
Mm-hmm.
that final playoff spot. And I think with the way that they've been playing recently, I mean, they kept Everett within a goal the entire game the night before as well. They played 3-3.
I was
I
going to say they did not look like a team that played 3-3, especially coming off the Everett game the night before too. They looked fresh.
I did see that they played last night in Tri-City and lost in
They did.
overtime. But
That was
you
another good
know,
game. I watched part of it.
did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, but again, I mean, just a really good goaltending performance too. Seattle's, Scott Ratzloff didn't play. Their backup did, Malinowski, and he made 41 saves and played a great game.
Yes, he did.
I think that kind of caught the Chiefs by surprise a little bit too,
Mm-hmm.
because he did make some very good saves. Chiefs are 0 for 2 on the power play, which didn't help either. But first period was pretty. I mean, it was pretty back and forth in the
It was a
first
good first.
period.
It was a good first period.
Seattle shot us 14-10 in the first period. Chiefs dominated the offensive or shot totals in the second period, out shooting Seattle 22-6. However, 3 of those 6 shots for Seattle went in the net. None to the fault of Carter Essler, who played in
No.
net. I think we saw the first 4 goals that Seattle scored were pretty bad defensive breakdowns by some of our
Yes.
veteran defensemen. And you can't have that stuff happen
No.
this late in the season when you're one of the top teams in the league, especially.
Yeah.
You can't have your 19, 20-year-old defenseman, doing stuff like that and turning the puck over. But yeah, I felt bad for Essler because there's a lot
I
of
did
those
too.
goals that there's nothing he could do about it, and he did make some good saves in there as
Mm-hmm.
well.
No, that's what happens when you're the last line of defense.
Yeah,
When
yeah,
mistakes happen in front of you.
exactly. But yeah, the Chiefs scored first in the game. Brody Gillespie once again picking up another goal. A
Mm-hmm.
nice pass from Braden Crampton down there on the right boards, wide open out front for a little tap in. So it's nice to see Brody still scoring.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I, with Martin going out in that game in the late in the first period, we saw a couple of line combinations that were different that they were kind of trying to test out. One line
I
combination that I
liked them.
noticed a couple different times was Berkeley Catton, Shea Van Olm, and Brody Gillespie centering that line. I
Mm-hmm.
did not hate that because with Brody playing as well as he's been playing lately, he's playing with a lot of energy, a lot of speed. It looks like he's playing with a lot of confidence out there too. I
Mm-hmm.
think that's a great fit with Burke and Ulmer too.
Mm-hmm.
I really like that. I like the combination when they put Ekstrom out there with Catton.
Me too.
Ekstrom, Catton, Sarkinov. I liked that.
Me too.
Um, I think Sarky and Ras played 2 of the best games for a Chief in that game against Seattle. I think they were the two best Chiefs on the ice all
They were
game.
our two best forwards, and I feel like Caden Allen was our best defenseman that game.
Yeah, Caden Allen he played a really good game too. It's nice to see him kind of picking up where he left off after not playing the Wednesday and Friday
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
with Sather being out there. But I mean, there's just no stopping Nathan Pilling for Seattle. I mean,
No.
he just out there and just kind of tore us a new one.
Yep.
And the Chiefs lose to the Seattle Thunderbirds 6-3. So Seattle picks up another two huge points in their playoff race. Looking at the standings right now, they're sitting at 53 points, three ahead of Wenatchee for that final playoff spot. So Kamloops has kind of fallen out a little bit. They're sitting at 47, so 6 points back. Still got 9 games left for both Seattle and Kamloops, though. So we'll see what happens. The Chiefs do play them once more
Mm-hmm.
this season, the Thunderbirds, that is, on my birthday, your boy's birthday, at the arena. So that'll be another good game, kind of see where standings sit right around there. If the playoffs were to start today, it would be Everett, Seattle, Victoria, Vancouver, Spokane, Portland, and Prince George and Tri-Cities.
We get
Uh,
Portland now, huh?
yeah, Tri-City with their picking up their 2 points last night, they jumped Portland and Vancouver. Portland and Vancouver sitting tied with 66 at the moment.
I
So
like those first two rounds. You got Everett and Seattle. You got the Battle of I-5 there, and then you got Victoria and Vancouver. That's kind of cool.
yeah, right there, just a couple of rivalry series
Yeah.
right off the bat. And then you throw Spokane Tri-City in there too, if that were to be a thing. I mean,
Yeah.
that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
It'd be awesome. Just a great. And I think no matter who we end up playing or whoever it ends up playing, I think it's going to be a hell of a first round series.
Yeah, I think so too.
I'm really curious to see how the Chiefs are going to adjust to like the playoff style. Obviously, they got a little bit of experience last year, not winning a game or anything too, but they picked up some key,
We got,
veterans that
we got
have
some
that.
guys that have the experience, though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you have Ulmer
And
and
coaches.
yeah, that too. And another thing that I don't know if a lot of fans realize that I actually just realized the other day, that year when Edmonton went to the Cup and Ulmer played in Edmonton,
Mm-hmm.
Brad Lauer was their coach.
Yep.
I did not realize that.
Yeah, I did know that.
So I think that's pretty cool too, and I feel like that could help a little bit as well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so what are we thinking after watching all these games last week? Like, where we're at in the standings kind of has stayed the same. Obviously, we're now down to 7 points behind Everett again
Yeah.
because they won against Seattle or when we lost to Seattle on Saturday.
I mean, 4 out of 6 is okay.
Yeah.
It's ideally you want to win all three. We're going to lose games here and there. I get that. I mean, we met against some pretty hot goaltenders in all three games.
Hmm.
And just letdowns. It's hard as a fan to watch us play the first full 60-minute game we've seen in a very long time and then have that egg get laid the next night. And I feel bad for the players and I feel bad for the families too, because the families were here for both of those games. They got to, celebrate on Friday night after a good performance and everything too. And then the letdown on Saturday. We feel bad
Right.
for both sides of that.
Yeah, I do too. Like I said, there's bits and pieces that I really liked on Wednesday. Not a full 60 minutes against Vancouver, but I think we played a perfect hockey game on Friday
Yes.
against Wenatchee
Yes.
overall. And then, Saturday, obviously laying that egg out there and just not really putting up any sort of performance at all. A lot of just unnecessary defensive breakdowns and some stuff that they got to get cleaned up before the postseason. And quite frankly, they have a whole week to kind of work through some of that stuff in practice before they head off to Victoria for back-to-back games over on the island too. So
Yeah.
they're going to have to do some adjustments on power play, penalty kill, and just overall performance. I think they're going to have to really work on their passing and their vision too, because I feel like that's a lot of it.
I did like seeing some of the line changes though in that game on Saturday too. I think that could pay dividends down the road too. Looking to see some combinations that might work. I like to see that little tinkering with things a little bit as
Yeah,
we
I do too.
as we head to the playoffs. Like you said, Sarkanoff and Ekstrom look good out there with Catton, and it's nice to see something a little bit different too. Trying to find something that might work, not just that game, but down the road too, where you can go, hey, remember that game when this line did what they did? Let's try that again.
it's another way to build chemistry, even if you
Mm-hmm.
don't play with those guys every night in the same line. It's a way that something you can do, if you need to make an in-game adjustment, especially in the playoffs. If you need to make like an in-game adjustment like that, then
Mm-hmm.
you can go back to that game and think like, oh shit, okay, these guys had some chemistry out there together. And yeah, I think that it's really good. And like you said on Saturday, obviously, we didn't like watching them kind of lay that egg against Seattle, but it's probably a good thing overall for the team
Mm-hmm.
because it gives them time to adjust and fix those mistakes that they made
Yeah.
going into the last half of the or last part of the regular season and into the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. And like you said about chemistry too, playing 3 games in a row at home, we go on the road this weekend. It's a
Yeah.
good thing to get some of that chemistry back again a little bit too, traveling together.
100%. Especially
Yeah.
going over, going on the ferry over to Victoria. I mean, that's a
Yeah.
cool experience for the guys to do
Yeah.
too. And with some of the guys that we got from the Eastern Division, obviously didn't get to do that very much.
Mm-hmm.
Only maybe once every couple of years when they were over in the East. So it'd be a fun experience for them too. And they kind of get to all, yeah, again, like you said, it's a good bonding thing.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of get them tighter knit going into the weekend. I mean, these are going to be two huge games this
Yes,
weekend.
they are.
Victoria's trailing us in the standings by 3 points. They are ahead of us because they're tops in the BC division right now, but the Chiefs do have more points than them overall. It's going to be a really tightly contested series. I
Mm-hmm.
I expect Dawson to play both games.
Me too.
Um, but I think that some good offensive power on both sides. Victoria's a pretty deep team too that I
Mm-hmm.
think can make some noise in the playoffs. So it's going to be a good test to see kind of how the Chiefs recover from their performance on Saturday, and then how we come out against another hot team in Victoria.
Yeah. No,
So,
I agree.
so I wanted to ask three players in the last three games that have really stood out to you, because I got my list. That you give me yours.
Okay. My list. Sarkanoff still. I talk about him every week. That guy is again, I just feel like he's very underrated. And now we're hearing Boyle and Gustafson talk about him all the time now too and stuff.
Yeah,
In the post game interviews. Everybody's noticing that. That guy is just flat out good.
he just
Um,
hustles.
he hustles. He makes the simple play. He makes the right play. He makes the smart play. And I talked to you on Saturday too. He's got a long reach
He does.
for as tall as he is, and his arms and stuff too. He reaches out a lot, but he's got a very soft touch too. So
Yeah.
he's up there for me. Gillespie has been there. I feel like Rass has taken it up a notch too the last 3 games
Mhm.
a little bit. I really so I'm going to list a couple more than just three, I guess.
Okay.
But I like McIsaac's physicalness
Mhm.
the last couple of games too. And again, we only got to see him one of the 3 games, but Caden Allen, he does not look like a 16-year-old out there
Yeah, I agree. Him,
anymore.
him, and Sather
Since
as well.
Say there, yeah, they just, since Christmas, I just feel like Allen's just taking it up a notch too. He's got just a lot more confidence and he doesn't look hesitant out there and a little deer in the headlights like he did a little bit before that. Everybody on this team looks like they know they belong out there on the ice in any situation.
And I think that kind of is because of our leadership too. It's
Oh, me
like
too.
they're playing with confidence out there. So you have these 16, 17-year olds coming in and kind of showing them that, it's we're comfortable and we know what we're doing and we know we're good and we know that if we abide by the system and play, our game, then we're going to be good. And
Mm-hmm.
they're there for a reason.
Yes.
So Caden Allen's the very first pick of the second round for us a couple of years back. And I feel like, yeah, like you said, he's really taken a step up since Christmas. He's getting a little bit more playing time, playing every other game roughly. And, he scored against Portland last week, his first career goal too.
Mm-hmm.
That's got to help his confidence a little bit, knowing that, he doesn't look like he's a deer on ice anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really, encouraging to see. And I think he's could be another one of those guys that could take a big step up next year.
Mm-hmm. And on top of that too, for 2 or 3 games, it's nice to see Smith Redmond back too.
Yeah, he looked really good. He looked
He
really
did.
good on that fourth line.
He did.
Yeah, we're playing with kind of, the Wednesday game, I felt like he kind of was just kind of getting back into the groove of things and everything too. But come Friday, I feel like he really
Hmm.
started to come out of his shell again, and it's
Yeah,
nice to see that too because that's going to be again another guy that has some playoff experience. That's played on some good
exactly.
teams out east, and I think that that's going to really benefit us in the playoffs.
I agree.
Him that, and once we can get Sam Oremba back, same thing.
Yeah,
But
yeah. So who are your three?
so my three, I got Sarky. I think his overall hustle, he just doesn't give up on a shift at all. Like he's moving his feet constantly when he's out there, using his body, getting his stick in there. He's got a long reach, like you said too. Brody Gillespie has had a hell of a weekend. I really like his game. He's playing again since he came back from injury. He's playing with a lot of speed, a lot more grit and hustle out there too. I really and it's paying off. He's scoring
Yeah.
and everything too. So I got to throw him in there, and then Owen Martin is another one that I think has really played well lately.
Hmm.
But just edging him on that, I got to put Preston on there.
Hmm.
I think the last few games that Preston's played since he scored that first goal since coming back from his injury, he
Hmm.
has looked like a completely different player again too. And
Yes, he has.
he's scored I think 7 goals in the last 2 weeks or something like that,
Yeah,
maybe even more than that. I think he's up to 22 on the year now.
he is.
And your prediction for him at the beginning of this year was
25.
25 in his
Yeah.
rookie year. He's well on his way there. He's going to have to sit out this first game Friday, but he's still got I think another 7 or 8 games
Yeah.
that he can play, and he's well on his way to get hitting that mark. And I think that even though he's 16, that's going to be a key guy offensively going into the playoffs as well.
Mm. Oh, yeah,
His
absolutely.
speed is really beneficial.
Yeah.
Having him out there with Martin and Harrington, that's a line that's got speed written all over it, and
Mm.
just overall good skill too.
Yeah.
But if I had to pick three, it'd be Sarky, Gillespie, and Presto.
Nice.
Yeah,
Can't argue those.
yeah. So that's kind of my pick, and I think that's kind of all I have.
That's all we got to. We already talked about our worst call of the week. So,
Are any grievances?
um, boy, I did have a grievance. What was it? Well, besides kids screaming in our ears on Friday night,
Hmm.
I'm glad that they give away tickets to kids and get nice sellout crowd again. That was nice. We had over 18,000 on Friday and Saturday combined.
Pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
Uh,
That's pretty cool to see.
I love seeing us. Even when we were not a very good team. We had one of the top attendants in the entire CHL, and we're still hanging up there. I think we're still second in the league
Mm-hmm.
in attendance overall, behind the Edmonton. So,
Yeah. Um,
eh,
I don't have any grievances per se, but I'm just going to say it. How shitty were the linesmen this 3-day games with some calls that were
yeah,
like some calls that were icing, some calls that were not icing. Not even offside, just mostly icing calls. And I have a question. I told you I'd like to get Jeremy Del Campo on to do a pod or something too, just to ask some rules questions or officiating questions too. But
mhm,
I remember I thought it was still in effect, but it doesn't seem to be. When let's say a Chiefs guy hits it up the boards and a guy on the other team's the blue line and he swings at it and misses it, but he has an opportunity to play it and just happens to not make contact with the puck and it goes down, it's automatically icing. I don't feel like it was that long ago that it was icing was waved off on that because he had an
right,
opportunity at it. It just happened to miss it. Um,
right,
that kind of stuff is driving me nuts lately. But the flat out blatant missed calls for icing when a guy is not even close to the blue line and there's nobody there and they just miss it because they're not paying attention, or when a guy's fairly close to the blue line and they call it an icing because he didn't quite get to. There's just a lot of inconsistencies with linesmen this week, and I know they weren't our standard linesmen that we usually get either.
yeah. It wasn't Carruthers or Guzzo or anything like
No,
that,
with the Illuminati and
and
as I like
Gibbs
to call and
and
Gibbs
Max
and
Lucas.
yeah,
Yeah,
it just yeah, I understand different eyes, different ways of calling games and stuff too, but it's a grievance that I have too. I felt
it
like there's
wasn't good.
it wasn't good. It messed with the flow of the game to a certain degree.
And the one thing that I noticed too was I've never seen so many icing calls get overturned had the puck dropped at center ice than I did in the last
Exactly,
3 games.
exactly.
Yeah, and then I also something else that I noticed that I maybe it happens and I just haven't noticed it until this weekend, but I noticed the actual referees helping out the linesmen on like
Yes.
those things when they, they say it's touched up.
Yeah.
Half the time they're wrong with that too.
Yes.
So I've never seen, maybe they do, and I just don't really notice it, but I noticed it a
I
lot this
notice it once in
weekend.
a while. I do notice it
Um,
once in a while, but
thought that was a little bit
I
interesting.
actually thought for the most part, and Saturday was a little bit different, but I think part of it was because Seattle was dictating play, and we were standing a lot and not playing our game. I felt like we got beat to shit a little bit that game and a lot of no calls, but I actually thought the actual officiating in terms of calling penalties or not calling penalties, it was actually pretty good for all three games.
Yeah, I feel like that's gotten a lot better over the last month or so. I feel like we don't have even the games where we have refs like Nolan and stuff like that, guys that we obviously are not huge fans of, not making unnecessary calls to make themselves known out there either.
Yeah,
They're just, calling the blatant ones and letting the chintzy shit go, which is a good thing. And I almost wonder if that's kind of what they were told to do with approaching the playoffs, and
maybe
these games are going to be tighter
that's possible.
and stuff like that too. So yeah, I don't know, but yeah, I have noticed that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any grievances?
No, I don't.
Not even
I
getting about beer getting poured down your back or anything like that.
no, because once again, like I said, I'm a patient guy, and it takes a lot to really piss me off.
Yeah,
So
but
I
once you get
did
there,
I did tell my boss that was at the game on Friday that I was getting beer spilled on me and kicked in the back of the head. So I did tell him that if I wasn't at work on Saturday, it's because I was in jail. But
that's a nice heads up to give your boss.
yeah, he's a homie. So I thought that was cool. But anyway, other than that, no, I would just really, team wise, I'd like to see us clean up these defensive turnovers and missed assignments and stuff too going into the last handful of games in the regular season. That's kind of the only grievance that I have.
I'm sure that's a point of emphasis this week in practice.
And it should be, especially if you're playing a team like Victoria twice this weekend.
Yep, I'm sure. I'm sure it's being discussed,
Yeah, as it should be.
and I'm very, very thankful we have the coaching staff we have this year with this team.
Oh, me too. They've done a
Yeah,
hell of a job.
yeah.
Our entire, staff in general, with from Bardsley all the way down, has just been is incredible.
It's nice to see Bardsley walking around when we go during intermission and stuff too. And I'll even shout out, "Hey, Bards, nice job." He doesn't hear me because I don't say it loud enough. But
Well, and
it's nice.
he sits and talks to fans too. I think that's
It's
pretty
nice to
cool.
see a GM that's out there doing that.
Yeah, yeah. I might have to approach him about coming on the show sometime.
That'd be awesome.
That'd be cool.
Yeah,
But yeah, other than that, I think that's all I got. We can kind of wrap this up and
yeah.
get ready for another weekend full of hockey after a work week here starting for me tomorrow.
Well, it sounds like we got some away games this weekend because the state B tournament's in town this weekend.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah,
Yeah. So a pair of road games. I think our next home game is the Wednesday, the 12th.
I think so.
I think that's against Everett. It's one of the Everett
It
games.
is. Yeah,
So that's another huge game that we got coming up here soon too. So three
yeah.
big games coming up in our future.
Well, let's see how we look going into that game after this weekend.
Yeah. Crucial game could be a game that judges a playoff spot for the Chiefs.
It
So
could.
I have to
We'll
wait
see
and
how it
see.
goes. All
But
right.
until then, go Chiefs,
Until then,
go.
go Chiefs, go.